About a century ago, where we are walking through right now used to be part of China's first military airport. These big oil storage tanks that we see around us, they no longer fuel airplanes, but they fuel the camera clicks of tourists. In a sense, it's emblematic of many Chinese cities these days becoming more heavy industry light as they move towards greater sustainability. Cities are not born to be sustainable. They contribute to quite a hefty chunk of greenhouse gas emissions. While covering only 2% of the Earth's surface, cities emit at least 70% of carbon emissions. How can a megacity slash its carbon footprint, but at the same time ensure development and prosperity? Let's find out. The community is the foundation for a low-carbon society and is most closely connected to the daily lives of residents. I took a trip to China's largest community garden, Zhuangzhi Garden, where families advocate a low-carbon lifestyle. It's also a place where environmentally conscious citizens are growing up.
This community garden, I think, is a very interesting concept. It uses every single available inch of space, I guess.
I grew up both in New York City, but also outside in the countryside. Nature, that was our playground. Now being in a city for 14 years, I want to make sure that my children have that same kind of sense of nature. It is really amazing.
It's a huge undertaking to transform concept into reality.
这个地方在13年前，它就是堆满了建筑垃圾的一个地方。我们从2016年慢慢的把它一点一点的改变，现在变成这样一个郁郁葱葱的社区花园。
有些人可能感觉，哦，这个地方要是放个便利店多好。为什么我们要建一个这种绿色的花园？
这样的社区花园也应该是生活圈里面非常重要的一个组成部分。特别是在上海，我们在身边很需要这样的绿色的空间，因为这个都市的基底，这样自然的空间不是那么的充沛。
In 10 hours, 100 square meters of grassland can absorb 1,500 grams of carbon dioxide, while releasing 100 grams of oxygen. According to Dr. Wei, this 2,200 square meter garden provides more than just a green space to this community.
这个空间里面，当然绿色其实它只是一个基调，更重要的是发展人和人之间交流的这样的一个场所。我们是向居民开放的，也绝对不会用农药、化肥、除草剂，带给孩子们最健康自然的环境。
In a mega city with a mega population, land is scarce. That's why Shanghai has been building up. Buildings generate nearly 40% of annual global carbon dioxide emissions. Is there a way for buildings to lower energy consumption?
欢迎光临上海之边观光厅。
What we have is technology in glass that becomes very, very complicated and technological, but it is a green technology. There's 27 of these atriums around the building. This atrium acts as a way to create a jacket around the building. This double skin basically is a thermos bottle, in Chinese baoan ping. And the double skin theoretically acts as a coat. You can take the coat off when you're too hot, put the coat on when you're too cold. An older building that was built 20, 30 years ago might use 100, 110 watts per square meter. Our building uses about 50, 55 watts per square meter. This building functions as a living, breathing thing. There's nothing on this building that doesn't do work.
And Marshall, I mean, you've been in Shanghai for what now?
My first trip was about 21, 22 years ago.
Have you seen perhaps that transformation in terms of sustainability, in terms of livability overall of Shanghai?
Well, I think when I first came to China, the joke was, yeah, I live in Shanghai, there's 10 to 20 clear sky days. But now I think it has completely flipped. I see more days like this. I think that's great.
A low-carbon lifestyle, greener buildings, and a drive toward sustainability. All of these supports Shanghai's goal of peaking carbon emissions by the year 2025. That's 5 years earlier compared to China's national goal of peaking emissions by 2030. Now, it's not just about Shanghai. There are nearly 100 cities all across China that are aiming to peak emissions earlier than 2030. And from there, it's all about reaching carbon neutrality. Chongming Island, about 40 kilometers from downtown Shanghai, is dubbed the city's backyard.
崇明它所在的地理位置啊，有它特殊的地方。它是长江口有海边，是一个国际的鸟类迁徙的一个重要的驿站。所以我们要建设大都市旁边的这样一个生态绿色空间。崇明的意义就是要把环境发展整合起来，探索一种21世纪的可持续发展的大都市的一种模式。
Land is such a great environment. Once you come and embrace this kind of nature, it just feels like you don't want to go back to the urban city center.
这个生态岛不能是关起来没有人进来，要变成一个综合性的，它又有3种含义：一种是自然的生态，一种是经济的生态，一种是社会的生态。
The combination of aquaculture and solar power generation makes Chongming Island a green energy base in Shanghai. And going green is not only an endeavor of this eco-island, but a development path taken by China as a whole. Professor Zhu, so how do we understand China's goal of peaking carbon emissions by the year 2030 and then carbon neutrality by 2060?
2030的一个深刻意义就是我们排除老的西方模式，我们也不是脱离我们的发展阶段，接近的走减碳的模式，我们走出一个还有增长，但是有限、有管理的、聪明的、控制的小幅增长的一个模式。中国现在二氧化碳排放主要来自一个是中国的工业制造业，另外一个呢是我们的火电。所以中国2030年主要的挑战最突出的就是要解决这2个转型的问题。中国的城市化、工业化呢也没有完全实现，这些都是需要能源消耗，都是要二氧化碳排放的，所以还会往上走。我们到2030年的时候呢，新能源占的比重大概是20到25%，至少它有1000万个就业岗位。通过新能源的新的就业给置换过去，甚至适度还要增加它的就业岗位，必须要转型，那是你没办法避开的。问题是不在于要不要，而是怎么样来做。
So it will be a relatively gradual process, not sacrificing people's livelihoods as we make this transition. What about challenges outside of China for China to reach this goal?
二氧化碳排放不仅是一个环境问题，还是一个社会公平问题，这是一个发展权的问题。中国的碳不是中国人消费的，中国是一个工业为世界做出贡献的。当你美国人、欧洲人把我们的能耗是留在国土上面，不能用生产的排碳的高低来算中国的总量。所以这个在联合国里面已经有新的计算方法，认为要按照消费，按照你实际的享受，叫做 common and different strategy。对世界的排碳要实现那个不超过1.5度到2度的这个目标，我们都是共同的责任。但是共同的责任在不同的国家，我们要承担不同的任务。
Around the world right now, we are seeing if we use renewables as an energy source, that is still somewhat more expensive compared to fossil fuels. And fossil fuels may be artificially low cost. So how do we perhaps lower the green premium here in China?
几个渠道，一个是政府补贴，一个是绿色金融，第三就是碳交易，还有一种呢就是我们说碳积分，就是每个人不管你做什么行为，都把你减碳的减了多少给你放在你的信用卡里面。这个涉及到许多技术问题，比如说我今天吃个牛排，我到底省了多少碳？需要有一个认证单位，非常科学的、精准的计算你的碳。那么这个是未来可能不断的把政府、企业、社会整合起来一个值得展望的一个地方。
That sounds very complex. And we need all the individual, like you said, the government provides a guidance. What would you say are the advantages of China really making this transition towards green, towards a low carbon development?
中国基本上是 top down， 对啊，当然我们可以说是它 bottom up， 两者结合起来，顶层设计以后一层层往下贯彻， 贯彻以后变成细化的到各个领域的。所以我们用一个回推的方法定了目标，然后落到具体领域里面，这又是中国的特点。生态文明是要走出传统的环境跟发展两张皮的工业文明的老模式。英国是蒸汽机革命的时候，它当了个领头羊；美国在油气的时候当了个领头羊。在新一波能源转换当中，我们可能要多点引领作用。
Living in harmony with the environment is something that everyone can agree to. We owe it to our next generation and beyond. We owe it to the rich biodiversity that we share with this planet to leave our planet in a better environmental state than we found it in. So indeed, let's build a shared future for all life on Earth.